So some people don't know about it, some people don't realize it was actually a real thing, but there is something called the Great Emu War of 1932 that was an actual thing that happened in Western Australia, and it was just the emu population had grown to such an extent that they became a real pest. They were a nuisance, and people were hired to just kill as many as they possibly could. Ultimately, they didn't succeed. It ended up being a failure, and the emu population still exists. I don't know if they're still considered a pest or not. I think no, because there was fencing that was put up, but I'm not really sure on that. But it was a real thing. It was a couple people with machine guns, as far as I know. Just try to kill as many as they could per day. Sometimes they get as many as 20, sometimes I think like 30 or a little bit more than that, but just wasn't enough. So I've decided to recreate this event in RimWorld. We have 2 colonists with machine guns. They're currently still getting equipped with legendary gear. They themselves are pretty legendary and apparently sweaty. Oh well. I guess it is a bit warm. But we'll see how it goes. I've got, well, sort of an obstacle course. The turrets, they claim to not have power, but they actually do have quite a lot of power. The game's just being a little slow realizing it. By the time the emus get down here, they'll be powered on. I'll walk you through what we got going on here, though. We have 500 emus of varying health. Some of them are really slow, some of them really fast. It's sort of whatever. We have a turret here that's just in existence with 0.1 shots till barrel change. It won't be able to fire at all. All this does is spook them and force the game to actually give these guys proper pathfinding, because otherwise what'll happen is they'll clump together impossibly and move together as one. And since I have incendiary traps spread around, those are the ones highlighted in white. The incendiary traps, when the emus are clumped together like that, are a little too potent, and it causes the emus to almost certainly lose at the very end of this all. But with the turret here unable to fire, spreads them up. It takes a little longer to start because the game has to actually assign all this pathfinding, and it's a little choppy to begin with, but it does get better. And it makes it a lot more fair in the end. There are a couple anti-grain warhead traps. These are the ones highlighted in red. This is all down to chance. Sometimes they fire off, sometimes they don't. It all depends on which emu runs into the incendiary trap and which way they go, and how all that's handled. Past that, they've got an absolute load of turrets to handle. They have to go around them to the left and down, cross the sandbags, and trigger a IED trap around the corner, which will chain react, taking out this wall, making it a little easier to get down. Chain react across, up, and take out the power conduit for the turrets, turning them off, and also opening up this wall just in case somebody's really far behind. Typically that's not the case, but sometimes you do get one that's just like on fire and it's really slow because it's got like carcinoma or something, and it's just hanging around up here and it just gives it a little easier of a route. And in fact, I'd have a lot of these little checkpoint areas, so once they pass a zone, a chain reaction occurs and takes down the wall. That's what all the wooden walls are. Past this, they round the corner and go through this little deadfall field that they're going to be hanging around in for quite a while, it turns out. There's a bit of pathfinding mumbo-jumbo that happens as the rest of the emus advance, and a lot of them go right, then they try to go left, and they go to the right again, and they hang around there for a little while, and that's kind of intended because as they're clumped together nicely, it makes it a little more fair, because otherwise they stream in as just, you know, like basically one by one, and it's too easy for the colonists, especially because we have turrets everywhere. But the turrets do also act to take out the outliers who are just like crazy far ahead for whatever reason. So they round the corner, chain reaction occurs, taking out this wall. So anybody who's still up here for whatever reason can come down a little bit easier. Swim across the water, avoid the turrets, jump over the sandbags, hit the IED traps here, chain reacting, unveiling this wall, allowing these guys to go to the left. Not necessarily avoiding the turrets, because the turrets can still see them, but making it just a little faster to get through. So the people who are going to the right will now try to stop and go back to the left and down. Past that, a zigzag formation of incendiary traps, followed by a little bit of swimming. Chain reaction sets off the extinguishing IEDs that may or may not actually take care of all the fire. Well, it always takes care of all the fire, but because not every IED may have actually triggered, sometimes there will still be some left, and it's just how it is. Chain reaction also brings down this wall, so the ones who were going left now also think, oh hey, I can go to the right, so they also try to go to the right. Past that, a little bit of deadfall, another little line of turrets, and a bunch of IEDs here to chain react, taking out this wall. So now they think, oh, well, I'll just go to the left then. So they all go back to the left. Past that, they sort of clump together in this general vicinity here. And that's the way I like it. It seems to be pretty effective that way. It's a lot more fair for all parties. Small field of IEDs randomly scattered. Around the corner, they have to come up to these turrets. When they pass that, around the corner, chain reaction brings down all of these walls except a little bit of the plasteel, but that's fine. So anybody who's way far behind for whatever reason, they have a much easier path. and the guys who are stuck back here can now just straight through to the right, and they get to roughly this point at the same-ish time as the ones who are down here. So it still works out. Turrets on their flank again, but they randomly choose targets on both sides because they have vision and it's impossible to control them. Naturally, I mean, I can just like... I think there's a mod that allows me to set a target, but that's fine. The emus will then swim across the water, and where Onesan and Ludmilla will be sitting, waiting with the assault rifles, hoping to gun them down. I used to have them equip longswords when the emus made it to the water, so that way as the emus were swimming across the water, I have enough time to swap weapons, and then we switch to the swords and just cut them down. But it turns out longswords against emus is fairly effective, and I don't think they used longswords in the Great Emu War, so we're going for realism here, obviously, and we'll stick with the assault rifles. So that's that. We'll run this, I think, twice just to see it. The chances are it's all over the place. Sometimes emu win, sometimes the colonists win. I've run this a few times. I like it. It seems pretty balanced in a really strange way. Turrets on frightens them. The game stutters for a little while as it assigns pathfinding, and then we're off. It's a little bit like one of those Plinko machines. Now what I like to do is sort of just select a random one. We'll go for this one here. No particular reason. I'll choose that one as my champion and we'll see just how far it makes it. IED off to the left there, taking out not as many as you'd expect, but a pretty good amount. The turrets don't actually kill many things, but they do absolutely wound a bunch of them. When there's a massive horde like this, even missed shots tend to hit something. So if nothing else, they at the very least weaken a bunch of the emu, slowing them down, bleeding them out, making them easier to kill later on. The emu's making it past the sandbags, now about to set off the chain reaction. There we go. Turrets disabled. Alternative ways are open. And now it's a deadfall field. And past the deadfall field is the second round of turrets, and these sort of act to take out the emu that happen to be, like, just from sheer chance, way far ahead of the others. The goal is not to have them all spread out and streamed. It's more about trying to keep them as a big horde. Another alternative way open in case anybody's way far behind, but I don't think there are. And takes a bit of effort, but they do eventually push through. Oh, a turret reassigned itself automatically. I think that emu might make it. If not, his friends probably will. Oh boy, that was close. Oof. Oof. Oh, he made it. Nicely done. The way's open. Oh, look at this one with such determination here. Oh, never mind. Stopped for a drink. I thought I was just going to keep going right on through the fire and clear this in record time. Oh. Oh, can you do it? Yes, he can. Yeah, see, there's still a few IEDs left. This sort of is what it is. It was too complicated trying to get them all to fire off, guaranteed, and then extinguish them. It was all about timing the explosions, and it took too long. Where's mine at? Yeah, it's still up there in the crowd. They keep deciding like, oh, we're gonna go left, oh, we're gonna go right, oh, we're gonna go left. Now they're all gonna try to go left again, because that seems to be the faster route for them. The final little zone of IEDs here. Typically isn't very effective at killing them, but it does take out a couple of the outliers. I'm surprised mine's still alive. They've never made it this far. Outliers once again just being gunned down by the turrets. Sometimes they get lucky. The turrets aren't very accurate nowadays. Like that one might make it. Nope. Gunned down by Ludmilla. The way is completely open, but I don't think anybody's actually there anymore. But it does allow yet another way to go back up and around and through, which a lot of them will actually take advantage of. Aww. And Ludmilla's locked into melee, making it significantly easier for the emu when they're not being shot at. The turrets can still help a little bit when they're at the water, but not a whole lot. There are actually a lot left alive right now. I do not think this will end well for the colonists. Mine's bleeding out. It's still up? No, it's in pain shock. It's not technically dead, I guess, in a way. Ludmilla's down, Onasan also down. Man in black? Man in black. Yeah, that's a lot left. I've never had quite that many left alive at the end. They got lucky this time around. Usually it's a little bit closer. They might even be able to take on all the turrets. Maybe. They're all plasteel turrets, so it's a bit rough. Well, let's go through it one more time. Just to see how much different it is. Typically it's quite different. But in the end, oof. Didn't get away from that explosion. But in the end, typically, the emu do win. Second time around, this time I will choose this one. That's a good one. Oh god, it's so choppy at the start. I think that IED, oh. On the left, the IED actually saved a lot of them. A couple of them were going straight for that warhead. IED exploded and diverted them a lot, but not enough, it seems. Turret's disabled. Ah. Actually, that was a really, really bad time for that to go up. That killed a lot of them. Oof. Alternative way open, though I don't think many people will be using that. Many people, many emu. Oh, and mine apparently died just then. I think it got hit by a trap. I'm not sure. It's looking about the same as before. I can't really tell if there's more or less emu this time around. They make it through the incendiary pretty easily nowadays. Before the staggered explosions of the fire, and because it's roofed, the rain can't put out the fires well enough, so they tend to just run into the fire and will panic. Other ways open. Yeah, maybe there's a bit less. It seems like there were more off to the right this time. I'm not really sure. Tough to say, but nevertheless, the colonists will definitely have a really hard time with it no matter what. There's too many. 500 emu is an awful lot. Turret's doing some really good work up there. Oh, come on. Oh, really? Oh, that's pretty lucky. Well, I think that may have actually sealed it, just send those guys squeaking through there. Because now so many of them can go up and around the turrets. Yeah, I'm pretty positive it's over for the colonists. They have won before, and it involved a bunch of the anti-grain warheads going off. This time, only a couple of them actually went off. Before, the fire would go and the fire would go off, and a lot of them would scatter and go right into the anti-grain warhead and take out a whole lot of them. Yeah, before I had that turret way up there, it causes them to clump together so much. I think we can do this one more time after this, and I'll take out that turret so you can see how that works. I really don't think Ludmilla's got it. No. Nope, no chance. We'll do it once more, but I'll take out that turret on the very top so you can see how they clump together and see how that changes things. Turret's now gone. You can see how they clump together now. The IEDs are just so much more effective when they're like that. And I found out they acted so oddly like this when I tried to do the, what was it, like 1500 tortoises versus my old Killzone type video? Where they all clumped together on one tile as they move forward, and then when they finally got to the kill zone, then they had to figure out real pathfinding and spread out, but there was just so many of them in the game, well, it didn't work very well for me. Skillfully navigating these deadfall traps. Yeah, and there's a lot more slowed, a lot more wounded, bleeding. That anti-grain hasn't gone off yet, but I think it might real soon. Yeah, real soon it might. No. Well, typically they create such a seam here that they all start going around each other more and more and more. And usually one of them hits that anti-grain. Lucky for them they didn't, though. It does a lot of damage when it goes off at that point. That's a little more like it. Most of the IEDs went off, they hit the fire, they slow down a little bit and change path. Still seems like there's just as many emus before, but we'll see how this turns out. A lot of them are already so wounded from burns and previous injuries that the turrets can pretty much one-shot them. As you can see here, it's just an absolute slaughter. Hellbent and determined as that one, fully healed, just charging through. All the ways are now open. So make right back left by the time they get to the left corner. Typically they've already pierced through these turrets and opened up the alternative way, but I don't know. But as weakened as they are, won't be very hard for these turrets to take them out. Because if they all get down here and then this blows up, they tend to still try to go up and around because it is much faster, but it allows the turrets to still shoot out at them off to the left, because most of these still do have range. So as they go back up and around, they have to go through another round of turrets. Can he make it? Oh, so close. I think one of these might, though. No? Oh, only just. Only just. If not him, one of these definitely would have. Also, actually, having them clump together at the start like that didn't help the colonists as much as I was pretty sure it would have. Because typically they clump up like that and all the fire damage, it really adds up over time. They've yet to cross the water, though. They are most certainly weaker than before. And engaged in melee. Both of them now. Turrets helping out, taking out what they can, but will it be too much for the colonists still? I think it might be. It's a much more intense melee fight this time around. It's not quite as one-sided as before. The emu are just weak enough. The colonists have almost won it. Oh my god, what a spread from the turrets. Holy shit, Ludmilla did it. I mean, there's still a couple running around, but I don't think they're Manhunter anymore. Oh my god. Well, there you go. That's how you win a Great Emu War. You move your turrets back a bit so they don't clump us up as much. Wow. Well done. If you enjoyed this and would like to see more of this type of thing, let me know in the comments, because I'm always trying to come up with more ideas for little side videos like this, for just stuff alongside my Let's Plays, just sort of fun little guides and tutorials and random deals like this. RimWorld Duels is something that I used to do a while ago, and I might bring it back. I haven't really decided yet. It's one of those things where it sort of ran its course, and then other people started picking it up and doing it, so it's just like, why should I bother, you know? But let me know what you think. Ideas are welcome. Thoughts are welcome. I read all the comments, so do feel free, let me know. I certainly enjoyed this one. This was a lot of fun to do. It took a while to do, but this is pretty fun. I like the outcome.